Well, hey, kids, dreamers, and jammers, welcome to another Park Streamers Hangout. And I have to say, guys, I am extremely excited about tonight's show. We have a very special guest with us tonight. We will get to him in just a moment. We're going to kind of go around the horn and introduce my co-hosts here, Barry Place 28 and Cordy in California. Cordy, would you let everybody know where they can find you on social media?
Yes, of course. According to California, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, on my Discord, and Blue Sky. I am there somewhere.
Awesome. Thank you. And Barry Place 28, can you let everybody know where they can find you?
Absolutely. So you guys can follow me at Barry Place 28 on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, X, and Facebook.
Awesome. And I am Theme Park Casual. You can find me on YouTube, X, and Instagram, all of them at Theme Park Casual. We're going to say hi to some of the friends we have in the chat. I know we've got some people that are raring to go for our guest, but we do want to honor the chat and say hi to some of you guys. Who do we have in the chat?
We've got Mike, Kelly DiMaggio, Monorail Molly. Hello. Yeah, Pirate Girl Squish. Zone Membies, welcome.
Hey, Haunted Mermaid.
We have got, I know Weird Old Man is here. The names are fixed, so that is awesome to see. Spaceship Ears, hello.
Carol G and the Corn Dogs. Barbara Duncan, welcome in.
Haunted Mermaid, hello.
Weird Old Man.
Alan Smithy, Amy, Mousetropolis.
Jason
Jennifer.
Diderot.
Jennifer Beausoleil, Matterham Matt.
Exactly. Barbara Duncan's in. So I think we've hit everyone now.
SoCal Sports, welcome in.
Oh. Doom Boogie, hello.
Amy. Oh, I guess I missed a couple there.
Everybody's still coming in. We got people rolling in. GV559, Dave Averino. All right, kids. So, like everybody, you guys should know, we do have a very special guest. I've been excited about this show for weeks now since he agreed to come on the show and talk with us. We've gotten to chat with him a little bit at Knott's Berry Farm, which was really cool. But we do have the one and only Eddie Sotto. And Cordy, would you let everybody know a little bit about Eddie before we bring him in?
Of course. So some of you already know all of this, but just to kind of review that, Eddie is an award-winning designer, creative leader, and entrepreneur with a proven track record in entertainment design and production. Sotto's strengths lie both in vision, solutions, and team-based execution, skills he honed as a senior vice president of concept design at Disney's Imagineering division, where he ran his own concept development studio. His portfolio at Disney alone contains $500 million in built projects ranging from e-ticket attractions and retail, restaurants, web and mobile technology, including digital architecture like the ABC Times Square Studios. And then quitting Disney in 2000, Sotto exported those skills to then expand in the fields of marketing, AR, VR, AI, and network television. And that is kind of leads into SottoStudios, which was established in 2004. It's an experiential design studio that is frequently tapped to invent or revitalize immersive projects as multi-sensory experiences. Sotto felt there was a need to form a firm that thought experientially, where everything matters. They partner with clients to take their projects from conception to completion. And I know we have, so also just kind of other, contributions are, dozens, quotes for dozens of Disney books. His designs and experience have been featured in The New Yorker, Town and Country, Vogue, Architectural Digest, El Decor Italia, Los Angeles Magazine, The New York and London Times, Esquire, Maxim, Details, Tourist Match, Stern, Wired, Metropolis, and The Robb Report, just to name a few. So, yes, lots and lots to offer. So I can't wait. I'm excited.
Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Park Streamers Hangout, Mr. Eddie Sotto.
Hey, great to see all of you here. Thank you for inviting.
Yes, by all means.
Always a pleasure to talk about theme parks and cool stuff. And that introduction, I mean, I'd love to. I want to meet that guy. I want to meet that guy. You could have just said he started at Knott's, went to Disney, and then started his own company. And now he's wearing a T-shirt in Laguna Beach. But anyway, we could have said that. But thank you. That's so kind of you.
Of course. That's wonderful. Oh, we got a little.
All right. So before we get into everything, we do have one special thing for our audience that we'd like to announce. Bob, would you like to let everybody know our special thing that we're doing right now for Eddie?
Yeah, absolutely. So everyone, we have had the pleasure of getting so many donations for the Chalk Walk that we're trying to raise for August 3rd. And so far, all of you have helped us raise $22,880. And obviously $25,000 is our goal this year, which is up from $14,000 last year, which is amazing. So thank you so much to everyone. But when Danny and I had the pleasure of meeting with Eddie May 4th at Knott's Berry Farm, well, we actually had the chance to have a couple things autographed. It was funny because Eddie's like, "You're not selling this on eBay, are you?" But nope, I was keeping some of the stuff. And I was saving some of the stuff for a raffle to raise money for this great organization and this great cause, because obviously it's hit home with some of our own viewers and streamers, as well as Eddie himself. And I thought this was a great opportunity, since he's on our show today, to actually raffle something off. So let me show you exactly what we're talking about here. I'm going to stop sharing this and share what we're going to raffle off today. So if you donate $10 to either Theme Park Casual, Courting, California, or Berry Place 28 on our Chalk Walk page, and mods, if you wouldn't mind, please share the Chalk Walk link. You will have an opportunity to win this really cool. Oops, that's not it. Let me bring it up here. This is a Soapbox Racer flag that Eddie actually signed. And you can see here, he signed it in the top corner. And there it is, where he signed his nice little signature. So you will get one of these flags, and it's really, really cool. So if you donate $10 for a great cause, we are going to do the raffle at the end of the show tonight. So once we're done with the show, we'll go ahead and we will spin the wheel of names and see who wins. But we really hope that you guys will join us in helping raise some money for a great cause. And I want to say thank you to Eddie as well for taking the time to autograph the flags that I gave to him. I thought it was cool, and he thought it was cool too, because he's like, "Hey, maybe we'll sell enough of these at the park, they'll start, reminiscing more about the Soapbox Racer." So
yeah, but getting you to sign the flagpole was a little bit much. Okay.
Sorry, I didn't think that was. I mean,
you couldn't even get the thing in the room. It was this massive pipe. Let's just stick with the flags, okay? Stick with the flags.
If I could share something, since we're talking about the Soapbox Racers, this is one of my favorite things, and I love the fact that you were actually showing this. Let me see. Where did this go? Let me stop sharing this and share this one. It's the commercial for the Soapbox Racers, because this is the very first thing that you ever worked on. And to me, it's such a cool little ride. It was one of my favorite rides as a kid. And so this is the commercial for the Soapbox Racers.
All you kids and cats out there, Knott's Berry Farm's new wacky Soapbox Racer is fun for all creatures. You can race past the bleachers, over the hill to a real fun place, Tackett Junction. Knott's new wacky Soapbox Racer. When you go for a ride, you could be in for a big surprise. And now at night, you can see Knott's new incredible fireworks machine too. Fireworks and the new wacky Soapbox Racer. 2 ways to have fun at Knott's.
I love that.
Oops.
That was one of my favorite rides as a kid. Absolutely loved it. Here's the crazy thing though. Let's let our audience know, you didn't have a background in design, really. Obviously, theme park design wasn't, a course that you could take through college at the time. You just approached Knott's. You had an idea for an attraction and you went to Knott's, right?
Yeah. Now my family is a art-driven family. My grandfather was a portrait artist, was a scenic artist at MGM. My aunt designed costumes for Edith Head for a lot of famous movies and so forth. So we had that in the family. So I would always go over there and watch her doing, the thoroughly modern Millie 20s outfit or something from a movie or whatever. And so they would teach me little things. And so I had some art background and so forth in my family. And I'm Italian, and we're both sides of our family are kind of immigrated, make your own way, start your own business. Nothing is impossible. So we had a lot of encouragement in the family. I got married at 19. That's a difficult thing to do. And I was working at Sears selling appliances. Imagine me selling you a dual action agitator. Matter of fact, some people call me a dual action agitator. But anyway, selling washing machines and stuff, but my heart wasn't in it. And but I had looked at the Disney books. I was a Disney fan pre-internet. And I think most of you don't understand what that means. That means there's no information on the history of the park. I would call Disneyland and say, can you get me, like, what year was the Columbia put in? And they're like, who is this? Why? How many Skyway buckets are there? They're like, get off the phone. So they did have training materials for the cast, and to keep me busy, they would send me that. But one day I called them and said, hey, I've got an idea for a ride. And you know what they said? They said, anything you can think of, we've already thought of, so don't call us again. And I thought, most kids would just go, well, I guess that's it, And so, but I wasn't that way. I just thought, well, they just don't know who I am. They just don't know. They never heard the idea for the ride. How do they know they don't want it? So I just kind of kept persisting and persisting. I tried to get, when they threw away the first series of monorails, I tried to get them to give me the nose cone and the first cabin for my backyard. and they turned me down on that. They said, nothing that's in a Disney theme park will ever be sold outside of the park. Ha, ha, ha. Yeah. Anyway, so all of these things happen. So on the back of sales checks, I'm storyboarding rides while people are not buying washers, and refrigerators, and had these ideas. I just couldn't stop. And so, and I looked at Disney and the model shop. I was making more money at Sears you could make as an entry-level Imagineer. And my wife would not allow that. She's like, there's no going backwards, honey. With money, we go forwards, not backwards. I go, okay. So I get that. So anyway, did all these sketches and stuff. And my father's always been a big influence on me. And I said, Dad, what am I going to do? How do I get my ideas through? He goes, well, forget about Disney. What about Knott's Berry Farm? I said, yeah, but I talked to them. They don't want to buy ideas. The guy keeps trying to get rid of me, the design director there. And he goes, look, just call him and have him tell you that you just tell him you'll go away forever if you just look at your work and tell you how bad it is. I go, but why would I want to do that, Dad? He goes, trust me. Then you over deliver and show him the greatest ride he's ever seen. And I hope you have one, son. And I go, oh, well, So I did that. I actually went in and pitched this idea for a ride. No experience. I was 21 years old. Okay. Storyboarded it out because I'd looked at Disney books, with Mark Davis storyboarding the pirates. So you figure it out, right? So I laid this whole Rum Runners of 1921, basically Pirates of the Caribbean with, Bogart and Cagney and a lot of drinking. And I thought, well, this would be a nice, roaring 20s prohibition ride, And so anyway, I showed it to the Rick Campbell, who's a design director, who worked for Rolly Crump on Berry Tales, by the way, part of Design 27. And he loved the idea. Only Marianne Knott hated the idea. She goes, we're not going to put anything about booze in. We're not going to do a booze ride. What are you thinking? So I was thrown out immediately, So I kept coming back with more and more ideas. So finally, one of these ideas clicks. And it was for a rapids ride where the whole ghost town is sinking and your raft is going through all the buildings just as they're coming down on you, called Flash Flood Rapids. He loved it. Aero Development had a vehicle for it. And so I ended up getting this job as assistant art director, designer, or project designer at Knott's Berry Farm. And I was like 21 years old. And then they decided that was too expensive. They go, well, now you're out again. I go, you mean I have to go back to Sears? I gave up a career selling washers for this. And he said, well, no. Eddie, I'll give you one chance. I go, what is it? He goes, I was just in a meeting with the lawyers. There's a ride called the Cycle Chase that people are getting injured. There's a lot of liability issues, people falling off these motorcycles on this motorcycle. Maybe you could save your job and do something with that. So I went out there, looked at it and said, why don't we throw the motorcycle away, put a toboggan, think of Matterhorn bobsled or a toboggan style thing. We're going to do a low center of gravity so people aren't in danger, and theme it around the 1920s, which was that area, the airfield. And it'll be like the old R Gang comedies called the Wacky Soapbox Racer. And so that's kind of how that thing got started. And I ran in and told my boss, and he said, great, I want the storyboards tomorrow. I go, what? He goes, tomorrow. I go, I can't do that. He goes, you want the ride? You want it or not? So I go home and made a little model out of cardboard and took marker pens and colored it. And I even took my wife's overcoat and cut the buttons off of her overcoat and put hat pins through and made a working model of the little vehicle. It wasn't an 8-passenger. It was like a Mr. Toad scale car, little car. It was adorable, all painted with the little thing. Brought it into the office. He goes, where's all the artwork? I go, well, the show can come later. Forget about the show. You need the solution to the legal problem. This is your problem. So I gave it to him. He took it into the meeting. They all played with the toy and they approved the ride. And we were off building a ride on time and material. So I'm sorry that was so long, but I think it's kind of a unique story.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. I mean, could something like that even happen today? Could somebody come in off the street to, any one of these, theme park, conglomerates and walk in and say, hey, I've got this really cool idea, and do the same thing. It's give me one shot. That's all I ask. Could that even happen today?
Well, today they're all lawyered up. See, nobody, even at Disney, I couldn't hear other people's ideas. If you want to send me an idea to my studio, I can't look at it because now I'm indemnified that if I already thought of it, now you're going to sue me. So there's all those things that are going on. Plus today, you have all these filters of algorithms filtering out college educations and all this stuff that doesn't really matter, and all of that completely locks people out. So what I try to tell people today is build relationships with the people in that design department. Get them to know you. Go to the Themed Entertainment Association mixers, stuff like that. Also, these secondary design companies, you don't have to start at a big Knott's Berry Farm or Disney or Universal. You could end up going and working for these companies that service those firms. Learn to do things, to be a Swiss Army knife, be able to age stuff, paint things, make models, sketch, draw. Learn to do all of it. That's what I did.
Yeah, that's one of the weird things is there's so many disciplines. It's one of those things where there's so many different ways that you can be involved in these attractions now. There's so many different, from engineering to design to fabrication, all of these different things. Is there one thing that you would say, it kind of needs this one spark, and that's the one key that you got to focus on?
Boy, you're really good with questions. Yes. And I'm going to digress into something, so don't throw me off the channel here. So it was really, I think, in my career that it was super important that I start at Knott's Berry Farm. Why? They have no budget. No budget. So you come in there with no money. And this is when the Knott family ran it, before they had, Cedar Fair or Six Flags corporate investment. But anyway, so I get there and there wasn't people around to delegate to, like Disney, where you're part of some giant team or something, okay? And so Knott's also didn't have something called intellectual property. So what you had to do as a designer, think about this. You had to come up with an idea that would move an audience without leaning on a property. They're not there to see the lanterns of Tangled or whatever it is, okay? You have to think of, like I had to do, was I looked at that track of 4 competing vehicles, and when people would use gravity, and I said, you know what, the problem is, a little kid, I hated those car rides where I didn't have any control. I want more control. I want to feel like that. And to a certain degree, and we could never prove it or disprove it, that the Soapbox Racer, based on how many people are in the car, your weight, and how you leaned, you might get an edge over someone else. It did 1 million people in 11 11 weeks, the ride broke all records, did 1 million people, because kids kept riding it over and over and over again. It became the perfect kiddie coaster where they felt empowered to be a part of it. And it was just stupid and funny. So I guess what I'm saying is at Knott's, you have to dig for the soul of what it is you're doing. You have to intrinsically design something that will appeal to people, whether the brand has anything to do with it or not, whether the movie that they saw or not. Like Mr. Toad, I never saw that Mr. Toad show when I was a kid. You couldn't even find it. But I love Grand Theft Auto. I mean, you're out there doing demolition derby in a car. It's primal. No, I'm talking about primal stuff. You want to get run over by a train and go to hell and rip on the No, I'm serious. Okay. So okay, all of us are in a room alone with no IP to lean on, no Otter Pops the ride or anything like that. You're going to go, okay, I'm going to just have this experience. What's going to move people? Well, what's going to touch their heart? Well, Ghost Town, what's the essence of the West or California? How do you take those things? Now you have to think of it. And so to understand what Knott's is, which is this little more reality-based, very soulful kind of a thing, and then move into Disney was a very valuable lesson because you could see the difference. And I tried to Disneyfy Knott's when I got there. One of the fellow designers came by and said, you know, Eddie, this really is stupid what you're doing over here. This looks like Disney that you're proposing. I go, yeah, I think it's going to elevate the Knott's design. They go, it doesn't need to be elevated. It's folksy. You don't feel stress at Knott's Berry Farm. You just walk around and look at the flowers and hang out. There's a whole vibe here. What you need is the farm mentality. You don't have it. You get out in that park and you have to feel that experience and then communicate what Knott's is, not what you want it to be because you're a wannabe Imagineer.
Wow. As a designer, I completely get where you're coming from. And that kind of leads into, we wanted to ask you, you had some posts on the X platform that went a little viral. I think Forbes picked up one of them and decided to talk about it a little bit. And it's been one of the things that honestly we have talked about here on the channel, and I talk on my live streams at the parks, and we discuss and kind of try to figure out the thinking behind what is about to happen in Florida. And you had this post where you basically just gave a, hey, here's another, as they say, blue sky idea. And you had such a reaction from the fans of, an attraction like Rivers of America. How does this kind of thinking, I mean, you've been at Disney. How does this kind of thinking flow, and how does it, how do you maneuver these ideas through the chain, if you will, at a place like Disney or even Knott's or anywhere, when it's something that's, on this kind of grand, real big thinking kind of scale?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the number one thing is vision. When you don't have a vision at all, then or what you want something to become, then you don't know what you're solving for. So no matter what it is, whether it's designing a new land or a new attraction, or whether Tron fits or whatever it is you want to do, this vision, this more long, there's a macro and a micro. The long-term vision emotionally is, how does this fit into the park as a whole? How does it affect the rest of your day? A good screenwriter or a good movie director, you know what that character was doing before they walked into the scene, and you know what they're going to be doing when they leave. It's the same thing going into a land and leaving a land at a theme park. So you have to think in context, right? You look in the context of these things and say, okay, well, how does a river, what is it really saying? What is the subtext? What's the metaphor here? People tend to get caught up and say, well, nobody knows who Tom Sawyer is. Okay, fine. That's probably true. Nobody cares about the riverboat. That's from a showboat movie of the 40s or whatever. Say, okay, I'm going to write that down. That's also probably true. But intrinsically, primally, what do these things represent? As a little boy, I never read Tom Sawyer, but that was the greatest playground of my life. Number one attraction was Mr. Toad and Tom Sawyer Island when I was about 7 years old. And me and my friends, we would play hide and go seek on there because I lived in suburbia and there was not a cave to be found. It was all about the cave. It's like people get hung up on Christmas about what they buy their kids, and the kids play with the box. Well, what is the box? Okay. So when we look at the rivers of America and all these things, the river and the natural beauty and this whole gorgeous landscape is kind of impossible because you don't even know where the river leads. All you know is a giant ship is coming your way and you're inside of another reality. Doesn't that make the concrete of Tomorrowland play better? If you have concrete on both sides, where's the contrast? Where's the yin and the yang to these lands where the drama and contrast? That's what essence of entertainment is. It's about contrast. So these ideas, these things are, as it was mentioned in the chat, they are fragile. The execution of these things are fragile, and they're not just something you throw around. So I was trying to be a peacemaker, frankly. I didn't like all the screaming and yelling going on about it and everything else. I thought, you know what? I'm just going to throw this out there. I'm not looking for a job. I'm not trying to show up Imagineering or anything like that. I just said, you can have it all. Do I love the cars thing in there? Not necessarily, but you could have it, but with more real estate. What if you had enough land to do it right, where the mountain range was a backdrop to Frontierland, not in the center of all the action? So I guess, the idea as a designer, I've always been a provocateur, is to provoke thought. Not tell people what to think, but get them to think and just throw different ideas out there, throw bombs in the room and see what happens, And some of the furniture does get broken, but you just throw it out there. And again, people say, oh, Eddie, you should be running it and all this kind of, that's not what I'm out after at all. I wouldn't do that anyway. I'm doing other things today. But I do love the parks, and I feel the river, and these are intrinsic primal things that if they are going to change it, fine, it's their job. They're getting millions of dollars, executives, to make those decisions. They should make those wise changes, and I'll be happy to sit back and cheer them on and see how they solve it. See how they solve it. I just wanted to put something out there to say, hey, you can have it all. We don't have to be fighting about all this. I guess it didn't work. It didn't work. Well, it didn't work. But I just I don't know, just put it out there.
Well, that's what I thought was so great, is that it was, it was provocative, and it was like, hey, we can do this, and this is a great way of doing it. And that's what I liked, is that it got the discussion going with me, with my fellow, streamers and friends who are theme park lovers, and even Danny and Cordy and I talked about it. I think it's really cool because you gave a different perspective on how it could be and how it could work, even with the canoes. I mean, it was like, wow, how come more people don't do something like this and share these ideas? And like I said, I didn't think you were coming off as trying to, get a job with Disney again or anything. I'm just glad that you brought it up and showed that, hey, we can do this a different way. And this is a way that we can do it, instead of, like you said, everyone was yelling and screaming about what they wanted or didn't want or what they thought. This was just a nice way of looking at it in a different point of view. Yeah,
exactly. And I tell you, if those canoes went through Big Thunder caverns, and a lot of it was indoors where the canoes go through the caverns, and the trains are looking down at the canoes. And then instead of Tom Sawyer Island, maybe you do a little pirate thing on the island. I've been pushing for that for years, but forget about that. You could even do a beautiful, beautiful Big Thunder themed desert caves with stalactites, play area for kids there too. Big Thunder is a wonderful franchise that was wholly created at Disney. And why not exercise the tentacles around Big Thunder Mountain and make it kinetic again? Get these things moving, I can't imagine building a Tiana's ride and throwing the riverboat away when you just built a bayou. I thought, well, and maybe they'll keep it. You know what? I have faith in them. They're smart people there. They might say, hey, we got to have that riverboat. We'll turn it into a cocktail bar or something, or, which seems to be happening. But that's fine, But thank you.
Absolutely.
No, seriously, this was one of those things where the fan community needed to see something like this, just so that you can kind of like you were saying, this is what's possible when you kind of try to solve for certain things.
When you want to save it,
Right.
you gotta want to
Right.
save it.
Yeah.
And so I think I just wanted to save it and said, well, hey, if you want to save it, this is one way. Maybe that's something to think about. That's all.
Yeah. Now,
oh,
go ahead.
I was gonna say, what other disruptive things have I done this last 2 weeks?
Well, I was going to say there was the quick little sketch that you did of the shops in Paris, and
Not in Paris. It was the Emporium in Florida, wasn't it?
oh, was it? I thought that was Paris, but I guess
Talking
it
about
was
the
Florida.
Emporium.
The redo of the floor.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Main Street is something that I, worked on. I designed and led the design team for Main Street Paris, and so my DNA is just looking at things and seeing what they could be. And sometimes I think some of these small little developments, because they are so small, this little rehab, that little rehab, they don't get the same kind of like cinematic attention to detail that bigger jobs get. Galaxy's Edge gets all this detail. I mean, arguably that's crazy, right? But when you look at these small little ones, where are the moldings? Where's the interior architecture? Where is that cinematic richness that makes it Disney? And I kind of regret putting that sketch out there now. I probably shouldn't have done that, but to me, they were almost there. It's like, guys, it wouldn't have been that much harder to open a research book and just look and see how it was done, because all that's been done. I mean, sometimes I see lazy design out there, and it's usually on little teeny, no budget, small projects where they probably just had to get it done immediately. But just try to encourage people to say, well, wait a minute. Yeah, I that could be, we could even just add that detail later,
Yeah, I always look at those things as I call them a pulled punch. It's like it was close, it did well, but it didn't really land with the impact it should have had.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I come from a different generation. See, the whole mess, the whole problem with this whole thing is I was trained by the original Imagineers that worked for Walt and Tony Baxter and all those guys, and he spent even more time with them than me. So I'm coming from this certain cinematic movie art director level of quality and richness and all this. So I can't filter it any other way. Now, the reality is audiences have changed. People don't appreciate that maybe the same way. Maybe they do. I would hope they do. But, I could never walk into a merchandise meeting and they'd just say, well, Eddie, sales are up in that space that you just said doesn't look very good. So now they can see the merchandise. In other words, leaning into modern retail design benefits them, perhaps, So they will probably continue to do that. It's so funny. I just read an article today. We talk about the whiting out of interiors. Let's just white this interior out like a hotel, or let's white out this thing and get rid of all the theming and just make it a little more modern. Cracker Barrel just now announced they're modernizing their thing. And all these people that loved Cracker Barrel, they're getting rid of all the props and stuff. I never went to a Cracker Barrel, but yeah, it was the same as reading a Disney blog. It was amazing. People were like, no, Grandma's house is going. They made it all white and they put a garden hoe on the wall. And they're like, they feel the lack of soul. And I think no matter what it is, you've got to start with soul. You have to start with sincerity. That's what makes art different than anything else, is that the artist is putting something in there you've got to find, And that's kind of why people come back. That's why they come back, Yeah,
that's one of the key things is the memories that we have of these places, And I've always said, it's interesting because Disneyland. I grew up going to Disneyland, tons of memories there, but most of the memories, I'd say 95% of the memories, are the people that I was with. The land, the rides, the attraction, all that stuff, it was the means for us to create those memories, but the memories are of the people. It's those moments that I spent together with people. And Disneyland has always been that place that everything was configured just right so that our minds and our hearts could let go and create those memories, to connect to each other in fun and new ways. And I hope that, like you were saying, the changing of the guard, the new modern audiences, if you will. I'm hoping that things are being designed, and maybe we're just old fogies now and we don't quite get some of the changes. But I don't know if that's going to be the same kind of thing. Is it, Disneyland was a very special place. There was nowhere else like it. And now, as you've got Universal creating amazing attractions and lands and everything, it starts to seem like there's more places to do that, to have those same types of memories. How do you see things going forward? What is something that you would like to see in the themed entertainment industry? Is there something that is missing, that has gone, that brought back? Curious.
Well, I have my own philosophies, which could be very wrong because I'm not a demographic researcher or anything like that. Society, I think, has changed, and Disney actually reflected that by creating these apps and phone reservation systems. Now, to a certain personality profile, having everything organized and planned out is a dream. To other people who don't want things planned out, they like serendipity. And I think the lands themselves were something that you used to walk into. I have these very vivid memories of just walking in, like Knott's Berry Farm is like this still. You just walk in and you look around and you kind of go, oh, maybe I want to go do that, or maybe I want to go do this, or that looks kind of interesting over here. Or, ooh, wow, I never saw that. Maybe that's new, And so the land had a chance to establish itself and immerse you. Okay. And so it was about exploring and being immersed. And I think what's happened in society, just even outside of the berm, is people have become gross consumers in the sense that we are now consuming. We're checking off the boxes like an all-you-can-eat buffet. You don't care if the food's that great. You just want to make the mountain of the salad as tall as you can. I mean, so you're going to go through and you're going to go eat every little possible thing. 9:41, we're going to go do this ride. 9:42, we're going to do that ride. Then we got a reservation here, reservation there. But is that a full experience? Yes, I got my selfies in all these spots that I wanted to. I consumed it. I didn't experience it. Now, obviously, there's people that would argue immediately and say, well, I did both. I got the reservations that allowed me to experience it, and that's probably true. But the idea of a park being this adventure with a little less planning to it was something there. So I'd like to see some kind of a compromise in the industry of allowing these immersive events to be more immersive and not be so completely regimented and device driven, like the mobile app where people are standing around, at the counter, there's 5 people and you're waiting 45 minutes for the hot dog because it says 45 minutes. And you walk over there and go, can I have my hot dog? No, 45 minutes. They're like, they could hand it to you. They could hand it to you. And nobody recognizes a hot dog as an impulse item. You don't want it. Except rather than just grabbing it and eating it. So there's a lot of things that defy human nature. So I'd like to see that change, or evolve in a positive way. And also people, tend to just attack Disney for every single thing. And the real truth of it is, it's a Steinway. People go, Disney is doomed if the river is gone or whatever. It's a Steinway piano. Mm-hmm. It's just out of tune. And by tuning these things like pricing, bait and switch pricing, or whatever it is that they have, where people get in and they think it's this price or that price, they got to buy a lightning lane, whatever it is, creating this sense of value. What I would probably do, I would put a task force together to say, what is, for general admission, the Disney experience? What are you getting for that money? What do we guarantee every guest? That the rides are going to work, that the effects are going to work, that there's going to be a certain baseline of quality of what that adventure means, of how many attractions you're going to get on in a day. Maybe they already have that. But to me, I'm not so sure that people, even at the company, understand what do you get for that price of admission? Because the standbys and all these other things lock so many people out, to all who can afford to come to this happy place, welcome. I mean, that's kind of where you're at. I mean,
one of the things I thought was, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Anyway, that's my rant. That was my that was my boring rant.
Well, and that's not a boring rant to me. One of the things I like is that you look at the past and you see how things were done differently. And obviously, things are different from the management that we have at Disney today. But, one of the posts I loved was, you talked about Michael Eisner and how he had a competitive spirit and always paid attention to the opponent, did not allow any of us to, rest on our laurels creatively. Right. And he took, Universal seriously. And then I love the fact that you posted this note that he actually left you regarding Space Mountain. And you said, engage. Michael would also go ride on his own and comment. And management was very skeptical about the stylistic choice of surf guitar being added to Space Mountain. But Michael was pleased and thankfully said so, and even copied your boss, which is awesome. And then, we have this picture here that you shared about, him talking about how he really enjoyed, Space Mountain with the ride. And to be honest with you, I thought that was a great idea too. I love, having, that new style to Space Mountain. It was a new experience for me. And I love that type of music. I grew up with my parents, watching the surf movies and stuff. But to think, hey, this would go well with Space Mountain was a great idea, and it did. It worked.
Dick Dale, he actually pioneered heavy metal in many ways. He was a surf guitar, one of the first, if not the first, surf guitar guy. And if you go hear him play, and I went and heard him play, his guitar is wired backwards. He plays it upside down. So his downstroke is like a chainsaw, and you feel it in your chest. And so as a ride designer, when you're at 100 dB in a ride, Space Mountain's already 100 decibel of the car running around and the racket in the room and everything else. How does the music cut through that? To me, that's the number one thing. If you're going to put music on, what kind of music cuts through? So everybody else said, well, let's do John Williams Star Wars kind of thing. Let's do classical. Like, why it's so expected. Let's take kind of the lead from Whole Lotta Love and let's just accentuate the curves. And so one thing we did a survey at the end of the ride, and people thought, like 95% of the people thought the ride had been speeded up after the music was added. I thought that was a very interesting thing about experiential design, that you can manipulate things using the senses. Anyway, but it was a fun project.
Yeah, that was cool.
Did you have any other questions? I've been kind of commandeering the questions. I don't want to do that, so I'll open it up to my co-host if they have any questions.
I'll let Cody, because I just did the last question, but I do have something else I want to bring up. I'm
just loving everything, because it's like just hearing it all. So I'm just taking it all in. But yeah. I don't know what to ask.
well, let me bring something else up that I think is really cool. So Danny and I love maps. I think Danny loves maps more than I do. Yeah. But you actually have some really, really cool posts. And one of them was this one. It's like, while these fun maps are designed to be specifically vague, I'm so surprised to see that the map omits the ATV ride experience that they're so excited about. Why don't we see cartoon ATVs ripping into those trails? You don't see the race day flags, any of that, right? And then I love it. You include other maps down here of what other maps look like with the ride vehicles and how much fun they are. And I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, but that's been one of my biggest concerns when it comes to Imagineering. When you see concept art, back in the day when you saw concept art, what came out was fairly close or like it, and it was amazing. And now you get maps or you get concept art that doesn't quite meet the same expectation of what you finally get. And it's like, what was that? So I was happy to see you post some fun maps to go with this, because I agree. It's like, hey, this looks great. Welcome to Piston Peak, but where is everything they're trying to sell you on? I mean, I don't see any of it here. And of course I had to, look at that. I had to, like it and repost it, because I was like, he's right on target here.
Well, what's kind of funny to me is that if you look at Sam McKim's Matterhorn art or any of this stuff they put in the newspaper, people are like screaming on the bobsleds. I mean, it's like, what you do there? What do you think the public cares about? What do I do there? So you looked at that map and I thought, that's kind of funny. Maybe they think that the ATVs are going to be so visually out of sync with the park or something that it's going to cause a bad reaction. We wouldn't want to remind them that we're going to build a ride, And I thought, well, that seems a little bit strange to me. However, I was corrected by several posters who made an interesting point. They said, oh no, this isn't meant to show the ride. this is meant to show Piston Peak as a national park. And I thought, oh, and the rally is only a temporary event that happens once a year. And I said, well, then why doesn't it say Piston Peak National Park map with a legend, and trails named? And in other words, either you lean into it or you don't. And so I just, it's a small thing. Who cares? I think it was a cute map. It's a pretty little map that they did. And I think they're trying to reassure people. But, the concept art is there to elicit a particular response,
Right. Yeah, that was the thing with that one. I was kind of like, when I read your post, I was like, yeah, they didn't put the vehicles in, yet the style that they went with, the illustration style, was calling for it. It should have had the cartoony little cars. It wasn't a rendering in the sense of, this is what it actually like. This kind of cartoony representation of it.
Okay, let me ask you this. If years ago they had posted a fun map of Radiator Springs and there were no cars racing around the mountains or doing anything, wouldn't you find that a little odd?
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway, it's a stupid little thing. I just saw it. I said, well, gee, that's puzzling. I'm just puzzled by it. And by the way, maybe they're redesigning the vehicles and they don't want to commit to what those new vehicles might look like. So there's a lot of very legitimate reasons WDI has for not showing everything. They don't owe you everything. They don't owe any of us anything until it opens. Matter of fact, maybe they should show us less. They might go better, But the idea is that there's reasons behind this. We don't have all the facts. And so I don't want to be too critical without having the facts.
Yeah, that was the other thing. Yeah, exactly. We don't know where they are in the design process with certain elements and things like that. So it could be that we're not sure how these cars are going to end up looking. So why put it there and then have everybody browbeat us for, they didn't do the convertible car, the open air cars this time, whatever. So
I you know what, if I was there today, I don't know how I could have withstood the scrutiny of the internet. There was no internet when I worked at WDI. I had autonomy. You just go do it, and I like that, but now I cannot imagine every little thing that comes out, just hearing that. I don't know how they do it. I really don't know how the Imagineers can, Kim Irvine, all the different ones who are pretty public, in the public eye, they get out there and then they just get flamed, so.
Well, there's another thing I'd like to ask you about. What's the difference now? It seems like things take forever to be built. When we hear the stories from, the 70s and such, it was like things were getting built quick. Bob Gurr was telling the story about how when they were, trying to get the monorail, wrapped up, it was like, we don't have blueprints of any of this stuff because we called the guy, told him the measurements, and they told, they had to build it basically off of a phone call. What was it like to be able to work in that kind of environment where it's, seat of your pants, deadline is coming, and you just got to get it done, versus these projects that seem to drag on for years and almost feel like, okay, they purposely are dragging it out?
It was the greatest thing in the world. At Knott's Berry Farm, because we had no money to do blueprints of everything, I was taught to draw on 8.5 by 11 grid paper in the field. So I would go out, let's say there's a sign that needs to be done. I would detail how the sign would be hung. That's a gold miner's pan. It's going to have to be aged, blah, 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 blah. And you would sketch that out. And the guy goes, look, we got to get this going. And so I learned to not be a great artist, because I'm not a great artist, but I'm a good communicator. So I could draw all of these details, and then, like playing cards, like dealing a deck of cards, hand out all these details to these guys and go. All right. And then the art director might come in and do finish samples or something. So all of that stuff was wonderful. And my favorite jobs, most of them, were the ones where you have autonomy and nobody cares and you're just off in the distance. I don't even know what the process is at Imagineering today. I know it's much more complex, but also the state of California and all these legislation and regulation and codes, and now you have risk management involved, the legal departments. It's a very challenging thing to be a designer today in that environment. I don't envy them. It's a very, very hard job.
Yeah, I would have to agree on that one. and one of our viewers posted this. It says, "You didn't need the internet, Eddie. You had the pressure of Herb Ryman, Tony Baxter, and Michael Eisner."
Well, that's true. That is totally true. Pleasing Tony Baxter, was a wonderful guy. He's a best friend of mine now. We see each other frequently. Tony taught me a lot because he had learned a lot. Michael Eisner, came out of the film business, and I'm friends with him today. I mean, Michael Eisner is someone who keeps very close to the creative, and he was always very engaged. I did have that pressure. Herb Ryman, on the other hand, was somebody who taught me to be my own person. Herb was always his own artist. And I realized he would invite me to the dinosaur lunch. Anybody ever hear of that?
I don't think I've heard of that.
Okay. All right. So here's a new story. So on Thursdays, there was a lunch of retired, like Ken Anderson, Herbie Ryman, Bill Martin, a lot of WED guys, and maybe some animation folks. These guys would all go drinking and eating lunch at Maison Girard. And Herbie and I became very close friends. So he invites me to go to this lunch on Thursdays. And I would get a window into how these guys thought, what was important to them, and really how their life experience brought, like living in Europe and everything else, brought something to the project. And so I thought, this is what it's about. And that's what Herbie wanted me to understand. He's like, Eddie, don't photocopy other theme parks. Don't copy other Disney things. Don't make it just like another Disney thing or another Knott's thing. Go to the source, get the research books out, go to Paris, look at how it was really done. When you go to the source, your work will elevate itself 1,000%. And so the pressure was for me was, there's Herbie, man. And I had the rare opportunity to work with this guy who said, bad taste costs no more, and amazing guy, and hated all going to the meetings and stuff like that, but he wouldn't, but I did. And so it was a wonderful opportunity. And he showed me drawing tips. I pretty much copied my style from Sam McKim and Herbie, but obviously I'm a poor impersonation, but they're big influences. You're right. There was pressure.
Yeah. So who would you say is the most influential in your life? Looking back on your career, who was that person that, really, you look back on and say, if it wasn't for them, it probably wouldn't have gone the way it did for me?
Well, Rick Campbell gave me my start. He was the design director at Knott's. And Rick came from Rolly Crump's Design 27 culture, which was very bohemian and didn't judge you in the kind of way that we get judged today for jobs. So I would say there's a certain little piece of that your beginnings are kind of that. I think when I was 10 years old, I toured the Fox lot, little 10-year-old boy, and they were about to film the big parade sequence of Hello, Dolly, where it's New York, Fifth Avenue, 19th century. And I was shocked by it. And we walked down the street, and you could look back and see how fake it was and look forward and see how real it was. And it changed my life forever. And I told my mom, I want to meet the guy that did this. And his name was John DeCure Sr. So I started studying the cinema design. And I thought, you know what? Forget about the theme park thing. I was just a little kid. Forget the theme park thing. Cinematic design is really it's the higher ground. It's what makes Main Street of Paris, I think, it elevates it above the mall of some of the other parks. That you really, all those levels of detail, the Easter eggs in there. I became a method actor of design. I would be in the ride that's finished while I'm thinking of it, and I'm just explaining to you what I'm seeing in the ride, even though it's never been built. I would method act the whole thing in my mind, and to me, this whole idea of studying Hollywood art directors and film, that helped me. Orson Welles and the minimalism of Citizen Kane, all these different things, the noir films, that helped me with ride design. But see, I would love to see more of that depth in things today sometimes.
That actually leads us to a question here, or a statement. There is a question from our friend Orange Grove 55. With big competition like Universal, depending on big IP like Mario, Potter, etc., could Disney be successful in this environment with original/non-IP concepts?
Well, I think it depends what it is. I mean, it's sort of funny. Pirates, okay, like for kids, if you study kids, like pirates, dinosaurs, there's certain things that are already established as kind of public domain interest for kids. I mean, so that's why you have a dinosaur ride, right? You know, Michael Eisner understands this really, really well. He's like, well, that'll never go out of style. You know, same with the pirates. Mark Davis injected humor into it and Disneyfied it, just like putting personality into the Elephants of the Jungle Cruise. So all of those things can be elevated. I think it just depends on how big an idea is. I gravitate toward very big ideas, big, like how do they do that? Wow, ideas, not something I've seen before. I mean, that's what turns me on in my own company is like, what could we do that we haven't done, or that would be something interesting that might move the needle a little, you know?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I know your time with us is a little bit truncated. We want to be honoring of that, and we know you're feeling a little bit under the weather, so we do thank you for spending the time with us.
Sure. I can do a couple questions if you want, or whatever. Because I see a lot of stuff in the chat that people are curious about that I will never discuss in public. No, I'm just kidding. There's some, there's interesting stuff in there. So I would like to satisfy the audience if I could.
By all means, guys, if you guys have a question or something, put it in the chat. We'll try to see if Eddie can answer it for you. Obviously, there's certain things he's not going to talk about.
Obviously, I think this first question from Andrew Love Maria, you're talking about the timing of the launch of Wacky Soapbox.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. They pretty much launched simultaneously, but remember, you have different weight of people, numbers of people, their total weight in the vehicle at the beginning. People have always told me, oh, no, it doesn't make any difference. You have inside track, outside track, inside track, outside track. So the cars actually do get ahead and behind of one another. It's actually a pretty thrilling little ride. It's hard to prove. The launch, I don't know, unless the wheels, like the temperature of wheels has a lot to do with it. Same with Space Mountain with the trip time. There's a lot of factors in there. So I guess I had to say, no, it doesn't affect who wins. Obviously, if you launch the vehicle 5 seconds late, yeah, but thank you for that question.
There we go.
It's funny. Okay, I get an answer for this one. You'll probably laugh at this. So years ago, I had the opportunity to be the North American representative of design for Pininfarina. If you're familiar with Pininfarina, they're the people that design Ferraris, the exteriors of Ferraris. And they're a design studio in their own right, but they also design other things, even Coke machines. You'll see their Coke machines out there, those ones that have 90 buttons on them. Yeah. Anyway, so I had an opportunity to do that, and I thought what would be interesting was for Shanghai, and I approached Imagineering as potentially this Pininfarina guy to discuss the idea of taking their Italian design and doing something really that reminds you of the '67 Tomorrowland, only done in a little bit more fashion-forward way, and bring Italian design into Tomorrowland, as well as adding new and different things to it. Tomorrowland's a difficult thing, obviously, and we won't discuss it because everybody knows the problems with it. But I think you have to push the needle very, very far out. I thought Walt Disney did a great job by demonstrating future transportation long ahead of its time. So I think, frankly, some of the work that Elon Musk does, or others with robots, I mean, he's not the only one, with robots and things like that, and really, like, I don't know why the Starbucks wasn't in Tomorrowland instead of Main Street with a completely, like, voice recognition, automated, fantastic, futuristic Starbucks. Like, I want to go there. I hate to, versus, I think, kind of commoditizing Main Street. So I don't know. I look at it that way. I don't know that it would be bringing rides back. Adventure Through Inner Space is like one of my favorite attractions of all time. I don't know that I would want to bring it back, but maybe it could be brought back, something like that. I know we talk about People Mover. I think I want to do something with People Mover that would be trackless People Mover, where it's up there, but maybe it parks and attractions and takes you places. I don't know. I know. To me, Tomorrowland never really gets the attention it deserves.
Yeah.
I think we at least can agree on that.
Tonio Tower says, "Do you have any Tower of Terror collector items?"
Do I have any Tower of Terror collector items? I didn't work on that attraction, so I would say offhand I might, but I think I actually had the opening watch. I think I had the opening watch. That they gave out. Yeah.
So Paul knew it was wondering if you remember.
I do. All three of those folks I remember. David Mumford and Bruce Gordon are pretty well published. You can watch videos of them. You can see them. They're famous for their books. So I think if I had to take my Nickel Tour, fabulous book, right? But if I had to pick anybody out to talk about, is Tom Sherman. Tom Sherman, his life was the Nautilus from Disney's 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. He knew everything about it. And Tony Baxter did some really great things in working with him, with Tom. And because his life was so entwined with that ship, Tony made him the art director for the one in Paris that's the full-size sub. And I had commissioned him to make a brass one to put in the Walt's restaurant there at Disneyland Paris. You can see that today. It's in a special fireplace. So Tom Sherman even took his rented apartment. I'm telling you, rented apartment, and completely rivetized it. And the landlord didn't see it, but people were showing up late at night to see this submarine apartment until they finally made him tear it out. But what a special guy. But see, those are the kind of Imagineers you want, or the quirky, offbeat, focused, obsessed people like myself, that kind of come in and go, I'm just going to give myself to this. You could never pay for that. You could never write a check for that. So.
Yeah. And you actually mentioned, I know this is kind of a side topic here, but this is one of your X posts because they're talking about the 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea prequel. And you're like, I would just watch this for the sub. And I would too. I mean, that's pretty cool looking.
Well, yeah. On my bucket list is I would love to do a production design for a feature film or anything with that style. I mean, I've done so many steampunk projects, and I don't even like the word steampunk. I call it Nautilian, where it has a logic to it. It doesn't just look like a bunch of hot glued gears or something. I really would love to do something like that. So I guess I would watch it out of sheer envy. Envy. So. Anything else? Any other questions out there?
Yeah, hold on one second. Sorry, I was going back and forth here. Let's see. Oh, well, Izzo just had a comment. He said he was 15 minutes behind, but he had to say Dick Dale was amazing. He missed him. So.
Yeah, Dick Dale has a story on his website on that night, and I know one of you saw it when he performed. Here's a good story about Dick Dale. I needed to get Dick Dale. I wanted him really, really bad, so I called him at his ranch and said, I want you to do this music for Space Mountain, blah, 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 blah. But, Dick Dale, like musicians have an ego, right? And I had just seen the Billy Idol video where he's on top of a apartment complex in Hollywood with helicopters with searchlights. And it was like Eyes Without a Face or something. So anyway, I said, Dick, if you take this job, I'm going to put you on top of the Matterhorn playing lead guitar, flying over all of Disneyland, circled by 3 helicopters with searchlights. How much do you want to do that job? Because I don't care about the money. I'm in. So I'm like, okay. I'm on that, right? Then I call the entertainment department shortly before the thing opens and go, guess what? I got a gift for you. Dick Dale's willing to play on top of the Matterhorn. And they go, well, there's no way we're going to put a celebrity on top of the Matterhorn. What are you thinking? What kind of rocks are in your head? You have no right to tell him that. And I didn't, but it worked. And so he goes, okay. I said, well, what am I going to do? Because I've already recorded this thing. I'm going to be in big trouble. They go, well, your trouble is not our trouble, buddy. And I go, well, okay. Well, what about Space Mountain, since that's the ride he did? Oh, we could do that. Dick Dale was terrified climbing up this makeshift ladder to play up there. But he said of his whole career, playing at Disneyland on top of Space Mountain, doing the Space Mountain Suite and some of his, Miser Lou and some of those songs was the highlight of his career. Mm-hmm. So I felt good about that, at least. That was kind of a cool. Paul knew it right there. I saw Dick Dale, so did I, May 1998. And awesome. he was kind of a cool guy, that Dick Dale. But that was a skin of the teeth thing right there. Somebody's asking me about the concept for Mission Space. Oh, this is Josh Harris. Hello, Josh.
Yeah, it's Josh.
So Walt Disney World wanted a thrill ride for Epcot, and they took me aside secretly, believe it or not, and showed me all these numbers. And as much as we all love Horizons, nobody was going to it. It was costing them a fortune to run it. And they go, well, look, we're just going to close the doors on this thing. Well, if I go, why don't you just move it and put it in Spaceship Earth? Because then people would be satisfied. They would understand the idea of Epcot if they wrote it. That's Horizons is what Epcot's all about. Just put it in their other building. Anyway, they laughed at that. So they probably should have. So anyway, they said we want a thrill ride. So basically, Mission Space came out of this idea that we would have sustained G-forces and really try to put people on their backs and give them a ride experience they never had before, okay? So to sell this, I had to lay on my back in a suit with a little tie on. This is the 90s with a little tie, and I would lay on the floor in front of Marty Sklar's office, and I had to act out the whole scene of Roger 2 or clear for dispatch, 10-4 control, blow the tanks, blow it. I would act the whole thing out. And Marty Sklar just looked at me and goes, I don't know what you're talking about, but you certainly believe in it. And I said, well, of course I believe in it. This is going to be a breakthrough ride. No one's ever done this kind of a ride sensation before. He goes, okay, how much money do you need? We built a mock-up, showed it to Eisner. Eisner goes, seems claustrophobic, and that's why I love it. And I go, really? I go, that's why I love it. This is great. Go build it. Go. And so I was like, all right, I like that. So, no, Michael Eisner's amazing. So I go, okay, that's good. So we go off to do it. But the script I'd written originally, and I just have to throw this in, was very different than the ride you see today. It was about, my goal was people that don't like space, how do you make them fall in love with space? Because you already have all the guys. But how do you get someone else who's not that interested in it? And it's really to teach people that this world we're living on is worth saving. And so a lot of it didn't spin 100 times. It only spun twice. So people had a chance to acclimate to the sensation. And part of it was looking back at the Earth. And the power goes out. You're out there at the space station and they have to have MMUs come out and turn the power back on, and you help them turn it on and you fly back. But part of it was this spiritual connection to Earth, And of course, I quit and then it changed. But I always regretted, maybe someday they'll update it and they'll put in something like that anyone, can feel. And I think it's funny when Shatner went up in the Blue Origin rocket, that's what he talked about. That's what everybody talks about, is this connection. Like, well, wow, the place I live in is pretty darn special. Isn't that what Epcot's all about? And so some of those kind of like going for the heart, checking for the heart. But anyway, that's my Mission Space story. I hope that's enough.
That's a great story.
For Josh. Yeah. Thank you. All-time favorite project. Hi, Karen. My favorite projects are the ones where people leave me alone and they don't, By the way, I'm claustrophobic. I panic in Mission Space, but I did go on it anyway. So all-time favorite project, I'm the proudest of Winnie the Pooh's Honey Hunt in Tokyo because it was trackless rides 20 years before trackless rides. Mm. And nobody wanted to invest in it, and that's kind of why I quit. I came back and said, let's try a bunch of different ideas around it. And nobody, at the time, WDI, the management was run by real estate people, and they had a different vision, retail, real estate. Okay, well, go do something else, But so I'm the proudest of that. But I think of the favorite things, I love like the encounter at LAX restaurant, which was this space age bachelor pad restaurant. And I had a very small team of wonderful Ellen Guevara, Michael Valentino. We just had a wonderful team of people working on it. And we just went out, and it was like you say with the sketches. We just did it. We did it for very low money. We turned the thing in, and it was a big hit. It was in Vogue magazine. It was in all these magazines all over. I was shocked, and it kind of changed. It changed things. So I guess those are kind of my favorites. My favorite project's the one we never built, which would be Lafitte's Island, which is the Tom Sawyer Jean Lafitte connection. Thing. But anyway.
One of the things I love that you share as well is like this post that you had. Even though Disney scraped the Roaring '20s, the style became a later passion for me. Here's a private jet we designed called the Manhattan. Hey, party like it's 1939. I love this. I think it's great because for me, I was growing up in Knott's Berry Farm when they did the Roaring '20s, and I thought that was really neat and cool. And to see things from different perspectives and what other people come up with is just amazing. So when you did this post, I'm like, I love this. This is so cool.
Well, thank you. And the Roaring '20s, I had pitched the Roaring '20s with Tony Baxter for Main Street in Europe because the Roaring '20s was so successful in Knott's Berry Farm. It really was. It was already built on that, Now, I just noticed in the chat somebody was talking about the ride system I developed for Pooh. I didn't develop the ride system, but I suggested it because basically what happened in Japan is they wanted off-the-shelf technology, and I said, let's take Aquatopia and put it indoors. I didn't realize the way the system was designed, it wouldn't work indoors, but they didn't tell me that. I sold it and then had to go back and basically the guys in the ride group, Dan Ju and all the engineers had to figure out a way with factory floor magnets to make it work, but they did. But I'm just very proud that it got done and it got built and it was so successful for them. And we had a great team of people. No one does these things alone, by the way, including myself, obviously. So very proud of that. I just don't want to take credit for being an engineer or something like that.
Patrick asks, any thoughts on Disney Dubai?
You know what? I do. I think this is a wonderful opportunity for them to push the vision button, to slam down on the vision button and say, like when I saw the Crystal Castle, and by the way, Herb Ryman wanted to do a Crystal Castle for Paris. I saw sketches of it and everything else. I worked with him on it a little bit. It didn't look good. But anyway, we were working on it. This idea of reimagining things and pushing further and doing something, I feel like that you talk about where things could go. It could be something very, very special. And it may not even have the restrictions of a Castle Park, which is mostly outdoors because of the heat and so forth. People do things at night in that part of the world. It's just a very different audience, So I think it's an opportunity and it's somebody else's money. It's not only that, it's somebody else's money and it's an opportunity. So why not dream as big as possible and then take the best of it and bring it back so we can enjoy it for once, So.
Yeah.
No, I did not. I was soundly turned down twice for a Huff and Puff vehicle. Yes, I wanted a Huff and Puff vehicle. And the first person to turn me down on that was my wife. She's like, there's no way we have room in this house for this plastic car. What are you going to sit in the thing? I'm pumping around down the street or at the beach or something. I was like, I don't know. I just kind of like it, honey. I go, what about the Soapbox rate? No. So, no, I didn't get the Huff and Puff vehicle, although I would have liked to,
All right. I think we got one more.
Most missed defunct Disney ride. Ooh. Well, what do I miss the most? I don't. It's funny. Your memories are better than the real ride was. So I think if I went back to the adventure through inner space, I'd only see all the spit that's all over everything. Well, it's true. The ride was, these things get beat up. The most missed defunct Disney ride or attraction. Boy, I don't, why is my mind drawing a blank on that? it might be the Rivers of America.
Oh boy.
But you know what? They have one in California. They got, you know, they have another one. So I don't know. The most missed. What do you guys think? What's your most missed?
I always say that if I could bring one attraction back to show my son, it would be America Sings. I think he would just absolutely love America Sings.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay. What about you?
Oh, me? Oh, so
Yeah.
I would say probably Adventures Through Inner Space. It was one of my favorite rides at Disneyland as a kid, and I missed it tremendously. I will say though, as much as I miss People Mover, I took my daughter there a couple of years ago and to Walt Disney World for the first time, and she got to ride on the People Mover. And she's like, "Why don't we have this over at Disneyland?" I go, "Well, we have the track, but it was turned into rocket rods, and then they let it go." And she's like, "They need to bring this back." So that would be hers. But yeah, I would say Adventures Through Inner Space. What about you, Cordy?
Oh gosh, yeah, all of those. I think the People Mover, because my mom wasn't a thrill ride, person, so People Mover was her favorite. Every time we went, that was, what she looked forward to. So I do miss it. It's just, yeah.
It's kind of funny. One memory you triggered, and I guess I just miss it for weird reasons, is the 20,000 Leagues Florida submarine.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I just, maybe it's because it had the potential to be more, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think you guys I think Inner Space would probably be up toward the top of my list. Original versions of attractions too. I mean, the original Pirates intact at Disneyland would be nice. I feel like that's something I miss. I'm glad Tower of Terror is in Florida exactly, I believe, pretty much intact still. So there's original versions you can still ride, So,
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, is there any more, or are we wrapped, or what do you want to do?
Let's see.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I don't see any other ones.
Okay.
Right offhand. But I will tell you, and by the way, I know you know Spaceship Ears, John D. Ducour, and he's in the chat there.
Hey, John.
Yeah, since you were talking about his grandfather, and we just had John D. Ducour and John Ducour Jr. on our show just about a month and a half ago or so, So it was great having them on our show, and it's great to obviously have people like you on the show too, because it's amazing when we're able to share these stories, or you're able to share these stories. And
I'll tell you a John Ducour's story, because they wouldn't even know it, right?
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Okay, so I had dreamed of working with this guy, and Gary Goddard, who's a ex-Imagineer, had his own design firm which I worked with. It did work for Universal and others. And John was busy doing something with Gary on Hollywood and Highland to kind of develop that street corner. And by the way, the Intolerance set, or those elephants that are at Hollywood and Highland, or were at Hollywood and Highland, that came from John Ducour. That was his idea, because D.W. Griffith was the director he admired, and felt that was the biggest live set built on Hollywood Boulevard at that time, back in 1919, 1920 or 16 or something. Anyway, Intolerance. So it was this big Babylonian set. So that started out with John Ducour Sr. So I remember he had an office across from mine, and I didn't have a lot of guts at the time, so I had to kind of wheedle my way into his office when he was in there, and his voice is kind of like this, and when you talk to John, he frames everything, huh? Yeah, and he gets you to lean in with him and look as the camera would look. You see that, Eddie? See that? Huh? Yeah. They're coming down the stairs. Yeah. You see that? He would build this drama and anticipation. So he drew bigger than anybody else you would ever see. His artwork was massive. I'm telling you, massive. So he has this Hollywood and Highland rendering that's like, 4 feet by 5 feet or something, all in pencil. And then, you know what the Matterhorn star looks like they used to have at Christmas time?
Oh, yes. Love that. I wish they'd bring it back.
Oh. Okay, well, he brought it back, but it was like 20 stories tall in the middle of the intersection of Hollywood and Highland. Like in the street, this giant thing. And I said, wow, that's kind of epic looking. And he goes, so I showed him some of my stuff, and he goes, you draw too small. I go, I do? He goes, yeah, you're drawing too small. He goes, your ideas look small. You want your ideas to look big. You got to think big and draw big. You have to think on a grand scale. And so when I first started my first week at Imagineering, we were doing, George Lucas came in and I met with George Lucas. We had these meetings, and a lot of us did, about a Star Wars Tomorrowland, 1986. Some of you were born then. Anyway, so we, my submission was to take the Carousel Theater and kind of Millennium Falcon it or create something out of that vocabulary as a giant flying droid gladiator show, Anyway, so it was this dumb. So I thought, well, my first week here, no one's ever seen me draw, and I was so intimidated. I took my little sketch of this and tracing and had it blown up and blown up and blown up and blown up and blown up, and then went over it with Sharpie, and it was literally like 6 feet long, just like John would have done. Had it all taped together, and I hid it out in the hallway so that Marty comes in and all the people. Well, what are you gonna show to George next week? And blah blah blah. And the artist put up their little sketch here. This is my little thing here. Well, this is gonna be this is where the robot fights and this is gonna be where Han Solo. They're gonna do like a little musical. It's a musical. I'm going, okay, Eddie, what have you got? Because I'm the new guy. I've only been there a week, so I go, excuse me. So I go out the door. We open the door and we slowly bring through this long drawing of this massive spacecraft and put it on the wall. And it wasn't that big of an idea anyway, but because it was so huge, everyone went, oh, and I thought, it works. That John DeCure, he's an epic thinker. That's why we love John DeCure. But John DeCure, go look at his stuff on the Asbury University site.
Oh.
And all of you to look at his work, because he's a micro guy. He'll do something massive, but his detailing of especially Beaux-Arts detail, stuff like that, Rococo detail, he'll pick one little corner and all the curves work. And they work in perspective where he didn't even lay it out. I mean, it's almost uncanny, I would just happen to say. So thank you to the family for look at this. Yeah, well, I mean, this is amazing stuff, So I always reach for people that are 400 times better than I am, so I can at least dream, right? So,
Absolutely.
Yeah. Anyway, here's your John DeCure story.
Yes, and thank you for sharing that. That's amazing. And by the way, since we're talking about John D. DeCure, he has a website or a YouTube channel called Grand and Miraculous, and he's actually going to talk about Space Mountain tomorrow night on his show. So if you guys want to check it out,
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, it's really cool. And the great thing about Grand and Miraculous, where immersion meets magic, is that he has covered a lot of amazing rides already in the short time he's talked about Superstar Limo. Well, maybe not Superstar Limo, but Matterhorn Bobsled's a great movie ride, Peter Pan, Jungle Cruise, Adventures Through Inner Space. So it's really cool, and I'm looking forward to seeing Space Mountain tomorrow night on his show. So guys, definitely go check out Grand and Miraculous, because John has done a great job with this YouTube site.
Those DeCures, they're grand and miraculous. That's all I have to say. I mean, you can't say they're small and pithy. Small and pithy with John DeCure. No. It's going to be big. It's big. Really, really big.
Hey, one thing I wanted to bring up before we continue on and obviously let you go tonight is, so tonight we talked about the Park Streamers Chalk Walk and how we're doing a raffle for Eddie Sotto's flag for the Soapbox Racers. We've raised $105 so far. So thank you to everyone. And we'll be doing this raffle at the end of our show tonight. So because of you, Eddie, we've already raised $105 for this, which is amazing and great. And it's almost like grand and miraculous there. Let me share the flag again so you guys can see what it looks like, because it's pretty cool. There we go. So this is the flag. That's Eddie's signature right there. And you can see this is what the flag looks like. So if you'd like an opportunity to win this tonight, please, go to the Park Streamers and donate either $10 to either Theme Park Casual, Cordy, California, or Berry Place 28. And you could possibly win this really cool Soapbox Racers signed autographed flag by Eddie Sotto. Awesome.
Oh, awesome. Great.
Yeah.
Well, of course, thank you for patronizing Shrunken Ned, the jungle's only self-service witch doctor, because you've all been a grand group of hosts, and you are all deserving of being beheaded like myself.
That's awesome.
Take the advice tendered below.
Well, I think you got an event coming up this weekend. Do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Yes, we do. We're going to be at Knott's Berry Farm. Where else, right? And there's a grant. All these designers that worked on the Roaring Twenties, the 20s Airfield, and Knott's Berry Tales with Rolly Crump. The best of his elite group is going to reconvene. Probably, I've never seen them so many get together at once, and I'm going to join them just as kind of a party favor. And they're going to be there at Knott's Berry Farm on a panel. They're going to do a track walk of the original Berry Tales ride, and it's going to be exciting. There's a lunch. There's all this stuff. It's a huge event through Mice Chat. So I'm going to be there. And if you already have the Berry Tales book, Wacky Soapbox is covered in there. And by the way, if you just want to know about what this wacky thing is, go. I have a website for it, WackySoapboxRacers.com. You can go there and leave your own memory of what you remember from that ride, or just go, God, it's so overrated. Anyway, so you can enjoy that as well.
And here's that website that you're just talking about.
Yeah, and so it has the commercial. It has where all the music came from. I put all my personal photos of construction, and this was the days, like you guys mentioned, of little sketches and just doing it. I think there's some of my original art. I have my original art from it. Designed the characters and stuff. But there was no IP back then. You make up your own IP, and so it's fun. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff in there. Marion's pictured there, and some of the blueprints. By the way, they didn't know what to do with me because I was so young. So they hired a theme park design company that only employed ex-Imagineers. So you imagine me, 21, who can't beg his way to be an Imagineer, and they put me in a group of people that are all Imagineers to teach me. So this ride was like a way to be taught and get paid and still control the design. I was still like the lead designer by Imagineers. I mean, what more could you ask, So anyway, there's a lot of self-aggrandizing stuff on that site. That,
yes.
Which might
amazing. Well, before we let you go, Eddie, I do want to relay to everybody a little story you told us while we were at Knott's Berry Farm. We were discussing Club 33 and how you designed Waltz in Paris.
Oh yeah.
And your attitude of let's take what's in Club 33, that style, that kind of feeling, and give it to everybody.
Yeah.
And that, I thought, rang so true to how we've always heard Walt Disney himself be. That it wasn't a matter of trying to, the haves and the have-nots, or, this is for certain people and this is for certain people. You have that showed me that you have that spirit of this is really for everyone. And I would like to make sure that everybody knows that your perception, your way of looking at it is we're building this for everyone. And I just want to say thank you for all the things that you've done through the years. And, it's been an honor and a pleasure to be able to sit and just listen to your stories tonight.
Oh, well, thank you. When as a kid, I dreamed of going to Club 33. I didn't have any Disney connections, but I had the brochure. So I would just look at the pictures of others in this Club 33, wishing someday I could get to go. And I never got to go. I did, obviously later I got to go a lot, but it was something that, but here's the other thing. There's nothing wrong with having a Club 33 that's elite like that, because it was discreet. It was hidden. It wasn't in your face. It wasn't being waved in front of you. And I think that's a whole different conversation, And so when we were doing Disneyland Paris, because of weather, it's so cold there. I thought, well, why don't we use the second floor of Main Street, kind of like Club 33? And on a winter night, wouldn't it be wonderful to have dinner, look out the window of Main Street and watch the streetcars go by, or a parade, or or anything like that. Let's give everyone that elevator ride that they wish that they could have had. And it reminded me of a story that Walt Disney told once, where I guess he was with the evangelist Billy Graham on the Jungle Cruise. And they just got off the Jungle Cruise, and Billy Graham looks over at Walt Disney and goes, "Well, Walt, this is quite an amazing fantasy world you've got here. Look at that, And Walt Disney gives him that raised eyebrow look, and says, "Well, what do you mean there, Billy?" "Well, it's quite a cool fantasy land thing, here." He says, Walt Disney says, "Well, you look around you, you see people from all kinds of countries all around the world enjoying themselves and laughing everywhere. People are having fun, and they're from all over the world, Billy. Maybe your world is the fantasy world, and this world is the reality world." Meaning that it's possible that through understanding and creating an environment where we're all in the dark watching fireworks. We're all in the dark. I mean, that's, we're all just there to entertain each other, to make each other laugh, and it's the only place as a parent you're not hated, and you can wear a goofy hat because your kids, now you're on the same level as your kids. It's just very important, and so, but thank you for noticing that. I mean, it was just, I just thought it was the right thing to do, or to try to do, But thanks again to all of you guys. I'm rambling now. Now it's getting dangerous.
Yep, 90 minutes went by in a snap.
I know.
Yeah, always does. So,
Brought to you by. At least it doesn't say bro on it.
Yeah.
Isn't it a good bro? It's like, don't bro me if you don't know me. I mean, it's like, you're broing me on this thing. You're killing me with that stuff. You're broing me. Anyway,
sounds like me talking to my daughter.
Oh, well, there you go.
Oh, thank you so much, Eddie. We do appreciate you being on here with us. It's been fantastic listening to your stories. It is even better than I was hoping that it was going to be, and I had high hopes for it. This was absolutely a pleasure.
Yeah, it was.
Well, thank you.
Can you go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to give you, people usually always ask this, and I'm surprised you guys didn't ask it, is I'm the voice on the train in Florida. So I'm always doing the now arriving from a grand circle trip around the Magic Kingdom. That's my voice, at least there in Paris, Disneyland. So now departing from a grand circle interview, last call.
We didn't have to ask. You just did it.
Well, I just did it. I got it over with. That's, I never got attention as a child, It's a lonely life. It's a lonely life.
Well, you guys can definitely follow Eddie on his X page. And of course, he has his SottoStudios, which, whoops, sorry, I thought it was
Instagram.
Yes, you're on Instagram as well. Oops, what happened to my screen here?
Pretty much sticking on Instagram more than X right now, trying to focus a little more on the company lately. Got a lot going on.
The SottoStudio ones?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But hey, check it out. There's like 10,000 images on X. So if you want to go on a Disney history dream ride, you can go, spend all kinds of time looking at fun posts on there.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was trying to bring up the Instagram, but it wasn't coming up there. But
you
also, yeah. So this is their website for SottoStudios, and of course, if you want to see something really cool too, you can also go to this other amazing site.
But this is our aircraft work.
Yeah, so you have air, land, and sea. Some of these designs are just amazing, and I love to see what you guys have done. Just to see the concepts alone, or what you think things could be like. It's just amazing. I mean, from yachts to planes to you name it. It's just so cool.
That's the fun stuff. Keep moving forward. So, well, thank you for the hype. Appreciate that. For those of you in the audience who want to buy one of those planes, just drop me on.
It's how many millions of dollars?
47, I think.
Yeah.
48.
Yeah, you know, I'll call you tomorrow.
I'll take 2.
Well, actually,
Yeah,
that's a pre-COVID price, so that's a deal.
Oh, all right.
Oh,
Well,
again, thank
thank
you
you
so
so
much,
much.
Eddie. This was a blast.
Take care.
Thank you.
all right.
Bye bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in.
That's good.
All right. Well, hey, so let's see if we've added any more to the chalk walk here, and we'll definitely look at it again at the end of the night. But right now, so we've added another $10, so $115 we've actually got towards the chalk walk. So thank you, everyone. And again, if you want to participate and try to win this amazing Soapbox Racers flag signed by Eddie Sotto, then just donate $10 to either Theme Park Casual, Cordy, California, or Berry Place 28 tonight on the Chalk Walk page. And mods, if you can share that link again, I'd appreciate it. That is so amazing.
And now look at that. Tammy Delaney gifting 5 Park Streamer Hangout memberships. And I think we had somebody else earlier. I think it was Mattercam.
Mattercam Matt.
It was Mattercam Matt actually gifted 5 memberships. So thank you so much.
So thank you, guys.
All right. Eddie's still hanging in the back there. I wasn't sure if you wanted to jump back on.
I was like, I don't even know. Like, what do we talk about it now? Because
I know. How do we follow that?
Yeah.
Oogie Boogie doesn't sound like it's so much fun to talk about now that we're talking about it. That's so funny. Well, what is our next topic? You want to hit that, or you want to do one of the other topics?
I see Eddie talking, so I don't know.
Oh, hold on. Did you want to come back on?
No, I didn't. I was just going to say good night and thank you. That's
no problem.
Before I take my coat and head for the car, I thought I would just say good night and say thanks.
So usually after we're done talking to guests, we'll talk about some other theme park news and stuff. And sometimes we have people that join us and sometimes not. And you're more than welcome to join us. But
no, it's fine.
All right.
I'm out of here.
Thank you again. We'll see you later.
Thanks.
Have a great night.
All righty. Thank you.
Bye.
All right. All right. What's next on the topic there, Theme Park Casual?
Let's talk about Oogie Boogie for a quick second here, because we've been talking about these after hours events, Disneyland After Dark, and we've been noticing a shift in the purchasing patterns, if you will. Again, we've got an event that historically has sold out. First day tickets are available. And yet here we are, and Oogie Boogie, I believe, still has plenty of dates available. They have sold out, I think, 8 days. But considering how many days they do this, that's a lot that have gone not sold out this year.
Yeah, sorry, I brought up the wrong page. Let me look up the actual ticket page. One sec.
Now, as you guys know, Villains Grove is my favorite thing, and I basically say it's worth the ticket. And again, I bought a ticket to Oogie Boogie.
You did what? Just kidding.
I bought a ticket. I know. You know me, the after dark event hater that I am. I can't say no to Villains Grove. It's just too good for me. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. That's the one thing. But Oogie Boogie is not selling out this year, guys.
There's still 19 days open.
Wow.
Yeah, so here we go. So August 17th is sold out. We have August 31st is sold out. So the first night, and it looks like the 6th night. And then going over into September, we have the 9th and the 16th and the 28th. And then going over to October, wow, we've actually sold out quite a few more dates since Danny and I last talked. So we have the 2nd, the 9th, the 5th, the 12th, the 19th, 26th, and the 31st. Which is interesting because they've upped the price $10 on some of the nights, including 31st, which is $199 to go to right now, which is, to me, just crazy. But yeah, I was actually surprised that more nights had not sold out. So right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
I can hear
8,
fireworks.
10. 11, 12. You can hear the fireworks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the other day it was 8 days. Now we have 12 days sold out, and I'm sure as we get closer, more dates will sell out. But they started it another week earlier, so it's starting on the 17th this year, which is crazy. I just can't believe we're starting on the 17th of August. To me, I don't know about how you guys feel about it, but for me, August is too early to start celebrating Halloween.
Way too early.
How many nights did we have last year? Do you recall?
No, but I can try to look it up real quick.
I'm just curious,
let's see.
because I know, sometimes they up, the number of nights, but I just saw that Debbie Bernfeld.
Yeah, Debbie Bernfeld is a member here at Park Streamers Hangout. Thank you so much, Debbie.
So there's 31 nights now over this 2.5 month period. Let me see if I can find out what those numbers were for last year. Give me 1 second if you guys want to discuss them among yourselves real quick.
Well, I was going to say, Cordy, you did not get a ticket for Oogie Boogie as of yet, correct?
No, and I am not getting one.
And what's your reasoning for that?
Well, I was a little disappointed that we talked about this, earlier, that they really didn't, like last year I was intrigued, right? They did that. Can you guess who's coming to Oogie Boogie this year? So you kind of had to, guess off of the images. And I was waiting for that this year, like, oh, they got to switch it up. There's got to be something, exciting. And I don't recall seeing anything. And I was just talking to my daughter about this, that not that I need the candy or that's the reason I go, but the fact that I felt like last year there were less treat trails. They might have had trails, right? You could see the, the little meet and greets, but I felt like there was less of that. And my daughter said yes, and less candy. It was like more goldfish and,
Okay, yeah.
Just kind of changed. It was just, more craisins and goldfish than candy.
What's that?
So I think it's just a combination. I don't know. You know how much I loved all of the events. Like it's almost like I know it's 180, but I want to say 360. Like the year before of how I feel about the After Dark events.
So here's sorry.
Yeah, it's hard this year. I just don't feel that the effort is there.
So it looks like they added only one extra night, even though they went earlier, just because of how the calendar fell. But it seemed like they were adding a few more extra nights. I could have. The problem is I can't bring up the calendar from last year. It only says the dates, and I kind of counted them out. So I might be a day or two off. But yeah,
27 last year.
Oh, it's 27. Okay, ooh, there we go.
That's what AI says.
Okay. Oh,
okay.
Well, you went to AI. So, all right. So 27. We have 31 this year. Okay. So they've added 4 more. Boy, I can't even do my own math. But yeah, so I just thought it was kind of interesting that they're starting a little bit earlier and they're upping $10 depending on what night you go to. Now it is kind of reasonable, kind of for the first nights because it's only $139 for some of those nights. But I gotta tell you, paying even $169, I don't know if I can justify it anymore. And that's the one thing we've been talking about on the Park Streamers is that when it comes to these After Dark events, what are they offering you and what are they giving you that bang for the buck that's really worth, this extra money that you're spending on top of your annual pass or other tickets you bought? I don't know. So I will say this year, I normally buy tickets for 2 nights, one that I stream and then one I do with my family because my daughter's birthday is at the end of October. So I would do, a night where I wouldn't stream with, my wife and my daughter. But this year, my daughter's old enough to go to Knott's Scary Farm. And she's like, I go, do you want to go to Oogie Boogie? She's like, can I go to Knott's Scary Farm instead? I'm like, sure, it's cheaper. No problem. So we're doing that instead as a family. So I did buy 2 nights this year for Oogie Boogie so I could stream it. But I don't know if I'll do this next year. The only reason I did it this year is because I'm not spending as much money on Oogie Boogie tickets. 4 tickets is pretty darn expensive. I mean, I was spending over $700, almost $800 for the 4 tickets. So now I'm spending, half of that, which is nice. But that's the only way I could justify to actually going and streaming 2 nights.
Yeah, and here's it. I don't even know. It's like I said, I love Villains Grove. but I don't know if next year I'm going to be like, yeah, I have to, I'm willing to spend the money again. It could be that I'm going to get to that point where it's like, yeah, it's got, the park has a great vibe. I love the feeling in the park. It does feel like a gigantic Halloween party that is safe. You don't have to worry about, getting scared out of your mind. You don't have to worry about seeing, images that are like, oh, wow, I really don't need to see that, kind of, with the gore and all of that kind of stuff. There's not, there might be a little bit of the undertone of the, evil villains and everything, but it's not, that style. And so that's what I like about it.
It's very expensive. I mean, just in general, the times right now, but for a family to try, because that's gearing it, not, I mean, yes, for adults too, but for kids and having to pay that much for every member of the family is just.
Yeah, it's insane. But that's, again, that I'm doing this one person.
Yes.
I could not imagine if I have, 2 kids, 3 kids, and you want to go a family of 5, you're at $800, $900 almost just to get in the gate. Then through making time things so that you can see parades or shows or characters that you want to see. All of that factors into it, and it just becomes, is this really worth it? Like I said, for me, I'm by myself. It's under $200. It's kind of a splurge for me. My family understands. It's like, yes, we know you like Villains Grove. Just go and shut up about it now. But yeah, I can't imagine. When you see these families, I mean, some of them, it's like, brothers and sisters who have families, and they all get together and they do the whole group costumes and everything. It's like you look at it and you go, holy mackerel, that was probably, almost $2,000 for all these people to get in.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's a great event. Like, I don't know, sometimes, because I don't like to sound like I'm like, it's stupid or something. It's not, I don't feel that, because I've gone, since the parks opened back up, I didn't really do these before. Well, they did the stuff at Disneyland. I don't know, it was different before. We'll just start from when they started DCA, but I think that is the thing, because last year we started to see people who had been going for years that are like, okay, I'm done. And then now I think I've hit that point where I'm like, okay, well, now I've gone, and you see the changes. If you're going for the first time, you don't know. So you go and you'll have a great time. But I think when you've gone multiple years and then you're like, oh, okay. Right. You want it to improve or get better, or not either stay the same or, a downgrade compared to your previous.
Yeah. And I'd say almost at this point, with the way the prices are going, if they don't up their game, it's a decline just from that perspective. Even if they're doing everything exactly the same as last year, it's like, that's kind of a decline, because prices are going up, or, it's harder to get to that, that entry fee. And so, I really think they're at a point where they need to look at these after hours events and kind of reassess what, like we talked about with Eddie, what the value is for that entry fee, because it's getting to where there's not enough people left who haven't been there, done that. Now it's like, you're going to have to do something to bring people back, and, adding different villains, I don't think that's going to be enough.
No. And didn't they have a questionnaire last year where they were asking about, mazes, or possibly putting mazes in or something like that?
Yes. They asked about that.
And so to me, it's like, why aren't we doing something new? It almost feels like they've just become complacent. And again, what they're doing is fun. It's probably the best After Dark event they have, but I kind of like to see it evolve a little bit and change from what they're doing.
Yeah. I mean,
on the foods too. Like, I mean, that's always a highlight. I like to cover what's, seasonals and what's going on. And last year I remember I'm like, oh, so what is, they just didn't have a lot going on. So they cut back even on that. I don't know.
I'm with the EXP. Alice Maze. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And Disney has so many different ways that they could go about it.
Mm-hmm.
They're just choosing not to. That's the frustrating thing.
Right.
Because you know that a maze like that would just have, it would be shockwaves through the fandom.
Mm-hmm.
I agree.
It would be the kind of thing where everybody that's in that, it would be like, I'm getting a ticket.
I would have gotten tickets.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
So
Fire
I don't-
7 says she's looking forward to HHN.
There you go. I mean, because with FanFest, Universal showed that they can pull off a very high quality after hours event as well. So now there is serious competition outside of, HHN, Not Scary Farm and everything, because Disney, they have the luxury of Oogie Boogie being the family friendly version of all of that stuff.
Right.
They let Knott's and Universal, you guys do the gore, you do the shock value stuff and everything. We're going to have the place where you can take your kids and have a fun Halloween party. So I don't think the maze should go in the direction of HHN. It should go in the direction of a, kind of a spooky, silly fun house kind of thing. And I think Alice would actually be a perfect vehicle for that first maze to come out like that.
I do like Knott's has both, right? Because you do have camp. What's the?
Oh yeah, daytime. It's
so
not
they do
spooky
both.
farm. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But I'm just saying it's like, for the after hours, that, ultra price point kind of thing. And, everything is like really locked into being the Halloween theme. So, but yeah, you're right. Knott's does have, the daytime they go spooky farm, but they still have a lot of the decor up that's, a little bit on the side of, being a little more, gory, not too gory, of course, but.
Right.
But yeah, the FanFest, I think, is really gonna change the game, and Disney had better get their act together on it, because Star Wars nights not selling out the way they did is going to be an issue if Universal decides to keep throwing in these other events themselves.
Well, and as we talked about, all these after dark events at Disney have been really kind of blah this year. They have not been exciting or fun or that unique. I mean, and again, I enjoy going to them. Did I like 90s Night? I did, but there was issues. Did I like Sweethearts Night? Oh, no, I did not. There was tons of issues with that one. But it's like, I want to go and I want to have a great time and I want to have this great experience. I'm paying for it. Let me have it. And when you don't get it, it's very disappointing.
Yeah,
but,
and I think.
Okay. No. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, and not so much Oogie Boogie. I don't think I really experienced that there, but the other ones, the cutting the lines early, all the other things that they do when you're paying for the event is a bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
Well, and Reply by Mail says, if it's done right, it's like printing money. It really is. But that's the problem, is that I think Disney's gotten complacent with what they're doing and how they're doing it. And one of the things that GV559 says, which I've been saying for a long time, is, can we just lengthen the hours for these events? Because to me, it's like 4 hours is not long enough for these events, especially what you're paying for. And even though they give you 5 hours for Oogie Boogie, that one extra hour still, to me, they should be doing it for at least 6 hours minimum. And I know they're going, oh, well, you can get into the park early at 3 p.m. or 6 p.m. or whatever the event is, but the event's not happening.
Right.
So it's like, well, yeah, I got in early, but I wanted to be there for the event, and I want the event to go longer.
Yeah, because like you were talking about FanFest, they were open till 2. Now, did everybody stay till 2? No, but just knowing that it was open till 2, right? That you had that many hours. I mean, it's it's psychological too, where you're like, wow, 7 to 2.
Right, and then at midnight you're like, man, I'm tired.
Yeah. You have the option, right? You're like, okay, I could have, but decided to leave. Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
But I was about to say that the after hours closing early, that's terrible. They don't even do that on regular days. But we just had our issue with Tiana the other night.
11:58.
Give me a break.
What? And if you guys didn't see it, what Casual and Cordy are talking about is the fact that as the Park Streamers, we went to go on the ride. We literally had, what was it, 5 more minutes, a few more minutes? I don't know. It was like the last 5 minutes.
We had at least 3 minutes. There was at
we had
least 3 minutes on the clock.
And the ride was shut down. And we asked them, oh, the ride's already shut down. Oh, yeah, it's already, we had issues, problems. And we're like, oh, really? And then we walk over the side and we're like, wait, they're loading people.
They're loading people in the logs.
What's going on over here? Yeah, you can't. They just, told us that the ride was broken and it wasn't. It was like, you got to be kidding me. So that's frustrating. And when they do things like that, it's like, we go there all the time. So it's not a big deal technically. But if I was there and I was rushing to that ride, and that was one ride I didn't get to ride that day, and that's my last day at Disneyland, and I'm told that, I would be devastated,
And I think that's what we think of. Like, we're saying like, oh man, we still had 3 minutes. But I mean, yeah, it was a bummer for us, but it's like, I think we're really thinking too, like, wow, there's people that are just here for a day or two and they're paying, however much it is now, 206 or 306, I think it was for a park hopper right now. Yes. I think of the guests that they're, it's, yeah.
How dare you, Paul?
But, what did you say?
Your reputation's
Oh, that's hilarious. Oops, sorry, I didn't mean to put that. That's hilarious. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I shouldn't be complaining. They probably saved me from being in row 1. So
that is true, because you had a very interesting experience the other day. Got a little soaked, shall we say?
Yeah. That second drop, the one I call it the dipsy do, where you go down, there's just a wall of water that hits you if you're in row 1. I don't know if it was because I got so worked up and everything, I jostled the phone or whatever, but it quit out of the Prism app. I had to swipe back into the app. So I don't know what goes on at that point. I don't know if it's just like, hey man, it's just too much water.
Yeah.
The app says I'm out.
I didn't sign up for this.
That's great.
I did not cry.
I don't know.
Water all over my face.
I don't know. I have the clips. Shall we play?
Yes, I know. I might have to go back and look and see what what that video was like.
Zomembis, we were talking about Tiana's Bayou Adventure. We were trying to get a sweeper Tiana in on our last Park Streamers Hangout in the park, and we were trying to get it right there. It was close to midnight. We were on our way over there, got everything ready, and as we're walking up with a few minutes left, they said, "Oh, sorry, we're broken down, and we're closed." And the whole time that we were there, they were still loading people in the logs.
Yeah. What's up with that?
So
crazy.
I clipped it. There was no tears. And if there were, they were tears of joy.
Replay, please.
Yeah, I know. I might have to go back and find that. So,
but because the phone went out, it's like you catch the, and then we're in front of the other frogs and everything. So
he called people rats, just saying.
I said cute drowned rats.
Cute
Okay.
Well, no, because so
tears.
we're standing in the single rider line, and these people come by in the lightning lane, and there's 2 of the little girls that have obviously just gone through Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique, and they're going on Tiana, and all I'm thinking is, as a dad, I'd be like, you are not gonna go and spend that kind of money on Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique and then get on Tiana and have it all just washed away. If that's the case, it's coming out of your allowance now. And
wow.
That's all I was saying. I said they went and got done up like the little princesses that they are, and then they're going to come off looking like drowned rats. Cute drowned rats, but drowned rats nonetheless.
Good night, Pete McDevitt. Thank you for hanging out for the show.
Oh, good night.
Good night, Pete. Guys, if you're not following Pete McDevitt, definitely check out his channel. He's got a great show over there, and it's always great seeing you, Pete.
And that's all I was talking about with the drowned rats.
Sure.
These wonderful little princesses going on Tiana and having, you know, everything that they just had done undone. I don't know. I don't get it.
I heard they're doing a single rider Indiana, right? Did you get denied there? Somebody said.
Well, I went in and asked them, and they said they weren't doing it that day. They had done it the day before, but then when I went, they said, no, we're not doing that today.
Of course.
So, yeah.
Who said it? Somebody said they saw him coming.
He's wet. Don't let him on. Well, you know what? I've always wondered why they didn't, you know, bring that back. You know, single rider for Indiana Jones, because that's a great idea. I think they should be doing it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, hopefully they'll start doing that again.
Yeah, as long as they don't have the same cast members as they do on the Matterhorn. Matterhorn, for some reason, they just like.
Oh, they don't want you to get on.
Yeah, they hate pulling single rider. They are asking people that are walking by, not even in line, saying, "Are you a party too? You a party too? Come on."
Mm-hmm.
They just hate getting the single riders on. And single rider for Soarin', that one's like a gamble.
Lately,
you don't know till you look. Like, how many are there?
Exactly. It's got to look. Oh, there's 5 people. Forget it. It's going to be a 3-hour wait.
Well, that's so weird, because for a long time you do single rider, you got on pretty quick, and obviously it depends on, you know, how many single riders they need, but it always seemed like they would pull people fairly quickly, and now it seems like I'm standing there for 20 minutes going, okay, well, let's show another clip of the Muppets, or let's show another clip of, you know, Walt Disney Walk in the Park or something. Because I don't want people to be bored on my you know, show as well. So I'm doing those little videos that I like to show on history and whatnot. But I'm like, come on, how long is it going to take to get on single rider over here?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's so Zomani's saying I've got to find the video and show it. Let me see if I can find it.
There are some clips. Well, I have them on my.
No.
Riddle commercially
You have clips?
Just in case I missed it, you know.
Jeez.
Oh, are you able to share those clips or no? You're.
They're on my.
Well, if you can pull up my live stream, it's at the like 7-hour mark or something like that.
7-hour mark. That was
somewhere in there. It's
Saturday. There we go. Somewhere in that 9-hour stream.
Yeah, I know.
That was awesome, though. I got to tell you, I did not go into the chat that day. I was kind of ninja watching the whole entire day, but it was fun. Especially Paul and I were talking. And he was like, "Danny's getting soaked." I'm like, "I can see it." It's funny. All right, so I found where he's about ready to get on the ride.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, if you can kind of like scrub through it and see where we're actually the front row, like so there's nobody in front of us in the camera, that's the one. God, we had so much fun that day, though. It was hilarious.
Do you want to see the final splash, or you just want to see you with the water on?
You could, if you can get to the like inside where we go through the Dipsy Doo drop, and then go right after the big drop.
Okay, let me see here. I think I'm right. I'm getting there. Give me 1 second.
Yeah. We were having so much fun. It was hilarious. At one point, the person at the very front, a little girl, her water bottle like slides all the way back, you know, and so we're making fun. And I was like, that's how bougie it is in California. We have bottled water on Tiana.
All right. So okay, I've got it right before you're going to do the Dipsy Doo. So let me go ahead and share the screen, and I'll turn the volume up. Let's see here. It's funny because it's called Practically Perfect Rope Drop Morning until you got on Tiana's.
Yeah.
All right, let me maximize the screen.
All right.
Feet water.
I think it's hilarious. Sorry.
Y'all got itty bitty little buddies.
Cause you found the sound.
That's Splash.
That's the sound.
I didn't even know if the mic was working anymore because it was just, I was so drenched. I thought maybe it might have killed the mic.
So how were you feeling at that point?
Glad to hear the sound is good.
The sound is good.
This was, again, one of those things where I'm like so wet. There's so much water. It's like you go up the hill and you can feel it dripping out of your hair.
Right. I'll mute the sound just for a moment here. That would, like I said, every time I see that, it's just so hilarious. Sorry, Danny. I know you got soaked, but that was pretty amazing to see that wall of water just come over you.
Yeah, it's.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
the
here
thing
we go.
is I've told my chat that we don't pick rows anymore. We go where they
You're
tell
gonna be
us.
picking rows now. There we go.
This one's for you guys.
Double whammy.
Woo!
That's what the way into my the last second it got in the shoes. Okay, this is where this is it.
I don't know. It looks like crying to me.
Drowned rats. That's how we end up looking. The crying.
Okay. Well, that's hilarious. Oh, sorry. That was not hilarious. I'm sorry. That was really.
It was hilarious.
It was funny.
And I will say, what. One of the things I love about you is that you get this really fun sense of humor, theme park cranky, and it's really cool. So, that's awesome. I will say though, when we have these moments on our live streams when they happen like that, and it's so unexpected, you're kind of like, yeah, I thought I was going to get on this ride, and I was really hoping I wouldn't get too wet and drench. And yet, but it's so much fun for everyone to watch because, again, like I said, every time I see it, it's like, wow, that is so amazing and crazy. But at the same time, it's something cool that you'll be able to reminisce about, for your year of 2025 for Theme Park Casual. Yeah.
I've been making notes of all the little moments, and there's plenty of them already. We're only halfway through the year. But yeah, there's just, the whole stream was hilarious. I was laughing and we were having fun the whole time, and it had to end up that way, because the guy that was distributing, people, kept asking everybody, "Are you okay with the front?" And I'm like, why does he ask that? Just tell him, row one, get in there. Nobody else does that. And so he was asking everybody, "Are you okay with the front?" Most people are like, "Oh yeah, we'll take the front." And right when I get up to the very front, I'm the next single rider. He asks these people, and the lady and her daughter, they're looking. You get really wet in the front, don't you? He's like, "Yeah, but it's a better picture." And I was like, "Oh, you're selling it, buddy." And they said, "Oh no, we'll take the back." And he looks at me and he's like, "You okay with the front?" And there's nothing I can do. I can't say no at that point. It's like that would be totally cheesing out, and the chat would never let me live it down. They'd call me a chicken or oh, okay, but that's why I was like, all right, we'll do it. And I was thinking, I'm not going to get that wet. I'll get wet, but it's not going to be that bad.
Yeah,
it was bad. It was a wall of water. Just
it was
it's like
well, you and I were talking about
stupid
that night.
Wet.
Yeah. And it was fun to talk about it, because again, it's never fun at the moment, but especially if you're not expecting it. And then, you see the chat, you see how everyone's talking, and then you're like, yeah, this is a pretty funny moment. We've all had those. Look at what happens at Berry Place 28 all the time.
Yeah.
He's dropping stuff or something's happening.
Yeah. I don't think we showed the photo if you still have it up, Bob. It's just when I walk out and I show everybody the picture from.
Yeah, let me get that real quick and see if I can find it. All right, it's almost there, but give me a moment.
And don't forget, you guys still have time. We've got a few more minutes if you want to get in on the Eddie Sotto autographed Wacky Soapbox Racers flag. Just a $10 donation to either me, Cordy, or Bob on the Chalk Walk page will get you entered into that drawing.
Yeah, absolutely. We can bring this up real quick because I have it starred. There we go. That's it right there. So looking at this video, let's pull it up here. Oh, look at the dead cat on that one. Woo!
Yeah.
That thing is definitely hide that. There we go. Oops. Let me go back to it real quick and we'll play. You see those kids? They're looking at you soaked.
Well, there was one guy when I'm out, you can hear him. Holy! I mean, everybody's like staring at you at that point.
One more time.
And that's the thing. This was 2 of 3 trips I was supposed to take. I got back in line, but it broke down before we could get back on it. So I was going back for another round.
I want to see the photo here.
My clothespin mic. I know.
I put the backpack on the side, so they make a splash. What are you hiding?
Oh my goodness, she left the backpack on the side.
Look at my arm up. No. I'm on that side. You blocked me because your arm's up. You should have been the other way.
Please show the photo. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's so cool.
Yes,
Wow.
I know.
You were a trooper.
One more round.
One more round. They're not going to let you live that one down, apparently.
Nope. No, and I don't. I own. I'm a man of my word.
Oops. I can hear that.
Oh, I'm sorry. You can tell by your walking, your shoes are squishy.
Yeah.
Seriously, you look just as bad as I did when I was at Universal Studios and I did that short video I posted where I'm literally in this torrential rain and then I'm walking and I've got my feet in puddles and then next thing you know I'm walking through the hotel going hilarious.
Good times.
Yeah.
We laughed. I cried.
Yes.
We had a good time.
You did cry. You did cry, everyone. Hey, can we talk about just test track real quick and show it? Because there's some things that they've changed. Just show you guys real quick. Is that all right?
Yeah, if we make it quick, I got to get up in like 4 hours.
So 20 more minutes of this. I'm just kidding. So this was really cool. DSNY Newscast actually was sharing some of the screens of how things have changed. And, I always thought it was cool when you did the launch for, Test Track 2.0 and 1.0. But now they've built in this new for Test Track 3.0. It's like a whole screen where you're in this futuristic world and then shoot off, down the track, which is, pretty amazing and cool. And then, of course, you've got, this futuristic city. Now you're seeing, more like an instead of a model of the city, you're actually seeing, an actual like home. You've got, it was very kind of Tron-ish, I guess you say, for 2.0. And now it's a little more modern and you see like streets and buildings, which are really, really cool. So I think it's they put all this foliage in. So here we have these, and I know it's kind of hard to see, but they're like electronic trees here, just like Tron. But here they actually put in full, foliage that you can see as you're, driving through it, like you're driving through the mountains and stuff. So it's kind of cool. So they've done some really neat upgrades, and I think it's pretty awesome. So
yeah, it seems like it's a good blend of the previous 2 iterations of Test Track kind of coming together with the strong points of each one.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't see that anyone else has done or donated to the Chalk Walk page. So it looks like we've raised $115 tonight for the Chalk Walk. And we have Mattercam Matt, who's donated, SoCal Sports, Tammy Delaney, and we also have Reply by Mel. So we have 4 people who have donated quite a bit of money there. So thank you so much. I think, let me go back. Reply by Mel did $10. Mattercam Matt did $50. SoCal Sports did $30, and Tammy did $25. So thank you. So we put your name on the wheel here, and we're going to go ahead and see who wins this thing, so we can send it off.
Did you do for each $10?
Yes.
Okay.
For each $10. Yep. What? Just kidding. Yes, I did. So everyone got however $10 donation they did. I actually put an extra one in there. So you can see, here we go. Mattercam Matt's got like 5 in there. SoCal Sports has 3. Tammy's got 2, and Reply by Mel's got 1. So here we go, everyone. Thank you so much for donating, and let's see who our winner is.
Good luck, everyone. Who do we got?
Oh, is it Mattercam?
Oh, whoa.
Oh, wow.
Mattercam Matt. Oh, wow. That was close.
That was so close to SoCal Sports. I thought SoCal Sports was for sure going to get that. So,
Wow.
Mattercam Matt, congratulations. We will definitely send out your prize to you. So that was pretty awesome. All right. Well, thank you again for donating, everyone. You guys have raised quite a bit of money for us. Now we're up to $22,995. So we're close to $23,000.
Wow.
Thank you.
$5 away from $23,000. Holy macanoli, guys.
Yes, that is amazing.
That's amazing.
So thank you, everyone. Very cool.
All right. I think that's going to do it for us tonight. We're a little bit over. I mean, we kind of always go over, but thank you all for joining us. This was a fantastic show. I absolutely love Eddie. That was such a great interview. That was so much fun. I hope we can have him back sometime.
I hope so too. I hope so. It was amazing. You know, I knew it was going to be a great show tonight, and this is something that I think we've been looking forward to for a very long time. And the stories that come from some of these interviews that we have are just absolutely amazing. And of course, you guys have some amazing questions and bring up some amazing things that get our guests going. So your participation is outstanding. Please keep it up. And we are going to continue to bring you some amazing guests. And we have some amazing guests that are going to be coming on our show soon. And we can't wait to share all of them with you. But we are working. In fact, it's crazy. We were talking about how we literally have right now, if we wanted to, we could probably book a guest every single Park Streamers that we have, but we kind of want to break it up, so we're not doing that. We may have to every once in a while, but we're going to do our best to keep bringing these amazing guests onto our show. So, and if you guys have some suggestions as who do you like to see, and if we can get them on the show, great. You know, we got to find the contacts, obviously, but we've been lucky enough this year alone, since the beginning of the year, to really interview some amazing people. So thank you.
Yeah. So with that, we will go around the horn. Courtney, would you let everybody know where they can find you and when you will be streaming next?
Yes, you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, and Blue Sky. And looks like Thursday in the park. But I think I'm going to do stream from home, HQ stream this week.
Ooh, that sounds fun. I love stream homes or home streams. There we go.
We were unpacking, you know, we did an unpacking stream just a few nights ago.
And Paul was nice enough to give us a $10 super chat to get to 23,000. So thank you, Paul.
Hey,
really
thank you, Paul.
That.
Flags in the chat. Flags in the chat.
That's right. Flags.
I love that emoji.
I love it.
Yeah. All right. All right. And Barry Place 28, would you let everybody know where they can find you and when you will be streaming next?
Sure. So you can find me on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, X, and Facebook. And I will finally be back in the parks this Thursday streaming, because I literally have not taken any time to stream on my own since I had surgery. So come join me on Thursday, and I will also be back in the parks on Sunday. So that's when I'll be streaming in the parks.
Awesome. Thank you, sir. And I am Theme Park Casual. You can find me on YouTube, X, and Instagram, all of them at Theme Park Casual. I will be back in the parks for my usual Wednesday stream. We will be there in the evening. Happy to hear that Tiki Room has soft opened, so hopefully it will be open when I'm there, and we will be able to say hello to our Tiki Bird friends once again.
Yes, and I saw the comment in there that you guys want Tony Baxter. I would love to have Tony Baxter. That's something we could try to work on. Maybe one day we will be lucky. So
yeah. We shall see.
All right. Jennifer says, another epic show, guys. Thanks for all your hard work and all you do. Stay well, everyone.
Thank you, Jennifer. All right, kids. Thanks again for joining us tonight. We will be back probably in 2 weeks. I know I'm going to be on vacation, so it may be a Barry Place and Cordy hangout at that point, but I'm going to do my best to see if I can join in. So it just depends on how the scheduling goes.
And we do have a show on the 21st, which is not a normal show. And we're going to have Belle, who's the Chalk Walk ambassador. So she will be on to join us on the 21st. So looking forward to that as well.
Yeah. Awesome. So with that, kids, dreamers, and jammers, we will say good night, and we will see you in the parks. Have a great night, everybody.
Good night.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for joining us.